Hey everybody, Hunter back again from Showtime Studios. I've had a lot of requests lately on when I was going to do some more tutorial style videos. So as I was working on the chassis of the VW Beetle build, I ran into something that I do on most of my models, but it was a good time to go ahead and just while I was doing this, fill you guys in on a little trick that I use on my models, something very easy to do, and it will create a much better finished product when you're done. What we're working on is, like I say, the little chassis on the Beetle, and even though you're real particular on how your scratch built parts and stuff fit together, and you're still going to end up with these little gaps and these annoying little seams here and there. So one of the tricks that I use for doing a lot of those style areas, like underneath of this, I don't know if we can get it to show up here on the camera, but I've already done most of the work underneath using this trick that I'm going to show you. If you look like along all the running boards or the floor pans in relation to the frame, it's a nice tight fit, and it's actually got almost a curve where the panels meet each other. And also out here where these panels are joined in, there's no gaps or anything like that. So I'm going to show you how to achieve that look very easily. So the first thing we're going to be using, well, pretty much the only thing, is the Micro Crystal Clear from Microscale Industries. Now, if you don't have this, I do recommend that you get a bottle of this. It'll last a long time. This bottle here is probably 3 years old, if not longer, and still working good as long as you keep the cap on it. But if you do not have this, and you have some just regular Elmer's glue, you can use that also. The properties of this glue is a little bit different. It's a little bit thicker, and it tends to cling a little bit better than just regular white glue does. But white glue will work. So we're going to be using that. We're going to be using just a pointy Q-tip or pointy toothpick, that's what that thing is, and a cotton swab, and this has been wetted down. And pretty much what we're going to work on is, I'll show you an area here that I'm not real happy with. Now I will be flocking the floor pans on this, so this gap probably would not show up once the flocking is done. But right back in, let me see if I can use this Q-tip to point to it. Right back in here in this 90-degree area where the floor pan meets the this back panel, you can see a little bit of a gap right in front of that Q-tip there. Now what we're going to do to get rid of that is, like I say, very easy to do. And I'm probably going to have to do this with my left hand because that way you can see exactly what I'm doing. But you just want to take your crystal clear and dip the toothpick in it. You don't want a whole lot on it. You don't want to have too much to clean off. I've just got a small bead on there. And you just bring the crystal clear into where the two panels meet each other. And dot it on. And this is one of the techniques that I actually call welding on my models. It's not simulating a weld or anything, but it closes up all the little annoying gaps that you can get. Now, if you have a real big gap where you didn't fit the panels properly or something like that, I don't recommend this technique. That you're going to need filler on that. But if you've got something small like we do in this area here, this works very well. So now that I have it filled in there, you can see the bead of it. We'll hold it up here a little bit closer and get the camera to focus in on it. You can see the white little bead that we have there. And then you just want to take your Q-tip, and like I say, this has already been wetting down, and just slide the Q-tip right along that glue line. And you can, vary your pressure on it depending on how much of an actual curve you want to get on the part. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this one. And when you're done, that's what you will end up with. You let that dry. Now, sometimes on the white glue, depending on the depth of the little thing that you're trying to fill, whatever it may be, you will notice that it will shrink a little bit and you'll have to go back over it and do it again. The good thing about doing this compared to filler is when you put this down and you wipe it off with that wet Q-tip, you're done. You can let it dry, and if it does sink, you can go back over it, do the same thing again, and then when you're ready for primer or paint, spray right over top of it and you're good to go. There's no sanding. You don't have to worry about trying to get a sanding stick or something down in this real tight corner. It also works good for you guys that are building roll cages, and say that you run this door bar into the main hoop and it doesn't quite fit exactly perfect. You can go ahead and glue that, and then once everything dries up, you can come in and use this technique on it. Like I say, there are several areas you can do that. I've used it here on the motor plate mounts, on the strut bars, on the front, and all the underneath of this has been done with this technique. I've actually run a bead of it all the way around all these areas, in here, around the front suspension mounts, all that stuff. Anything that I've got a little bit of a gap in, that's a very good technique to try. So that's about all it is for this video. Something pretty simple and quick, but makes a very nice outcome on your finished model. It does take a little bit of time to do it. It takes usually about 10 minutes or so for this to dry up, where you can actually spray a primer coat over top of it. But if you're worried about it, give it a little bit more time. If you give it about an hour, if you were to go around and do all your problem areas and give it about an hour to dry up, after you do the last spot, you're good to go. Shoot your primer, shoot the paint, and you should be have a gap-free chassis if that's what you're working on. So if you have any questions or concerns, just leave me a comment on the video. I'll be more than glad to help you out with anything else you need to know on this technique. As always, I thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.